Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to take a very brief look at the Zont deck. Now it's important to note that this game is currently being funded through the Kickstarter process, today being November 12th, 2013. Now normally that would make everything that you see here subject to change, but I was told that the card art and the gameplay mechanics were final. However, the box art and the content in the manual may or may not undergo some changes. So with that said, let's just take a brief look at what this game has to offer. Alright, well before we begin actually taking a look at all of these different cards, I just want to quickly point out that the Zont deck isn't so much of a game as it is a template. That's to say that multiple game variants exist that make use of this deck as a whole. So it isn't just one game, you're actually getting a number of games, and you'll be able to pick and choose which games you want to play. The manual that I was given included 3 starter games. You've got 10, Key, and Bizarre. Key is a game for 2 to 4 players, whereas 10 and Bizarre are games for 2 to 3 players. All 3 of them take between 20 and 30 minutes to play, so you're not in for a long haul no matter what choice you make. The Zont deck as a whole includes 55 cards in all, and as you can see, they're broken up into numerous categories here. There are the yellow cards 1 through 3, blue cards 1 through 3, and the red cards 1 through 3. And finally, you've got sort of like these wild cards on the end. 0 and 4 can either be blue, red, or yellow. Now you may have noticed at this point that there are different symbols on these cards. Those are representative of the different suits that are in the game. In a standard deck of cards, you've got 4 different suits. You've got diamonds, hearts, spades, and clubs. Whereas in the Zont deck, you've got 5 different distinct suits. The first one down here is the art suit, or as represented by the plus sign. You've got the change suit, which is representative of the minus symbol. You've got the favors suit, which is represented by these 4 dots that look like a clover of sorts. You've got the Great Zont, which is represented by this little dot here. And finally, you have these Jiglet suits, which is represented by this infinity symbol. Okay, so we've established that there are 5 different suits in the game instead of 4. What does that matter? Well, it actually matters a great deal. Each one of these suits has some type of special power, and the details of those powers will change slightly depending on the game variant that you're playing. For example, while this plus symbol is representative of some type of gain, the way it is used in, say, the Key variant will be slightly different than the way it is used in the Bizarre variant. With that said, let's just take a brief look at each of the suits and what they do. This first one down here, this art suit, basically gives players the power to play an extra card in most cases. The second one, this change suit, has the opposite effect in that it allows players to force others to discard or something similar. The third suit listed here, the favors suit, basically affects the game as a whole in some way. It's basically a global power of sorts. The fourth one up here is the Great Zont, as represented by that dot, and basically it doesn't have any special power at all. However, it is immune to other card effects. Finally, you've got the infinity symbol up here, or the giblets suit, and basically this takes on the role, this suit takes on the role of whatever card it happens to be next to or on top of. Again, it'll depend on what game variant you're playing, but basically it can mimic other suits. Now I know that sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Once you get a handle on the suit powers, you'll be able to slide into these game variants without too much of a problem. Now with that said, I just want to quickly look at the easiest of the 3 games called 10. Again, it is for 2 to 3 players and takes about 20 to 30 minutes to play. Setting up a game of 10 is actually pretty simple. The deck of cards is shuffled and each player receives a hand of 5 cards, which of course they're free to look at. On a player's turn, they'll go ahead, choose one of their 5 cards and play it face up, forming a horizontal line going from left to right. Now, whenever they play a card, they'll have to observe the special effect of that suit. In this case, the art suit allows the player to play an extra card of the same color. Now, the special power of that extra card is ignored. Once a player is done playing cards on the table, they'll go ahead and draw back up to 5 cards. After that, play will proceed clockwise around the table, and players will take their turns in that order. In this case, we'll just go ahead and take this turn real quick for player 2. In this case, they'll go ahead and play a 3. Now, the suit is the art suit, so he can go ahead and play an extra card of the same color, and he decides to play this one. And after that, that player will go ahead and draw back up to 5 cards and end their turn. Just to quickly simulate another turn, let's just assume that it's player 1's turn again. They'll go ahead and choose one of their cards to place face up in front of them. In this case, they're going to go ahead and play the 2. In this case, they played a card with the change symbol on it. This basically forces another player to discard of the same color. So in this case, player 1 is going to go ahead and choose one of player 2's cards to discard. In which case, they'll go ahead and pick the 3 and place it in the discard pile next to the deck. Now, after player 1 draws up to 5 cards, player 2 will go ahead and make their move. Now, in this example, player 2 is going to go ahead and play this card here to try and be sneaky. Now, this particular suit is the giblet suit, and that takes the power of the card to its immediate left. Now, in this case, that is a change power, so this card would also become or assume the role of change. In this case, player 2 is going to try and discard one of player 1's cards. Now, you would think that, okay, well, the change card over here is blue, so then player 2 would be able to discard this one. Not the case. The color must be observed of the original card, meaning that player 2 will only be able to discard a card over here if it is red. So in this case, player 2 is not able to make any sort of special move against player 1. Now, this will continue back and forth until one player at the end of their turn manages to create a row in which the values are greater than or equal to 10. Whenever that happens, the player will go ahead, take all of the cards in that row, and simply add it to their score pile. The exception to that rule is when a player plays one of these favor cards. Now, as I was explaining earlier, that is a global effect of some sort. In this particular game, what will happen is everyone in the game will go ahead and put all of the cards in front of them in their row and place it into their individual score piles. Now, this will continue until players run out of cards to draw and run out of cards in their hand. When that happens, they'll go ahead and discard the cards that are still on the table and count up the number of points that are in their individual score piles. And the person with the most points at the end of the game wins. And there you have it. This is just a very brief look at the Zont deck. I didn't cover all of the rules found in the manual, and I didn't even touch on the other 2 game variants, but this should give you a general idea as far as what the product is all about. Speaking of which, you can learn more about the game and support it on its Kickstarter page. You can find a link to that in the below description, or you can also check out my written preview at www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.